Hey guys, tonight we begin with the blooded snow, cracked hide, and frozen tannery yards of 14th century Alpine villages. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments what time it is for you and where you're tuning in from. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The snow is already stiff with blood before you step into it. Not fresh, not warm, frozen into jagged black clumps that crunch under your boots like dry bark. You don't look down. Everyone knows what stains the yard. Animal or man, it doesn't matter. The cold flattens everything into one shade. You keep walking, your heel slipping once on the slick edge of a beam left uncovered. You catch yourself with your palm, fingers splayed in ice mud, then rise without swearing. That was your only glove. The other was lost yesterday, somewhere behind the curing racks. The hide in your arms is stiff, half frozen, the cut edges curling like dried leaves. You shift your grip, but the frost-brittle skin breaks at the corner. You don't stop. You carry it to the beam, throw it down, and reach for the scraper. The metal is too cold to hold bare-handed, but you do anyway. It tears at your palm with each stroke. Flesh for flesh. The hide sheds its frost and bits of flesh in slow curls, like bark peeling off rotwood. You work in silence. Everyone does. No one speaks in the tannery yard unless something has gone wrong, unless a boy slips into a vat or a dog drags off a fresh skin. The air is too thick with the stink of lime and soaked leather to waste on words. Your mouth stays closed. Your breath clouds once, then vanishes. Around you, other figures bend over beams, backs humped, arms jerking in rhythm with the scrape and pull of the knives. Some wear boots. Most wear rags. You can tell how long someone's been here by how many toes they limp on. You glance at your own feet, soaked through, wool wrapped over rawhide, tied at the ankle with twine. You wiggle your toes. They move. That's enough. A bell rings from the shed, once, dull and flat. Not a signal to stop, just a reminder of the hour. You pause, wipe your blade against your thigh, smear old grease over older cloth. Your hands are shaking. You clench your fists once, then open them again. Blood rises slowly along the crease of your thumb. The scraper took more skin than you noticed. You shift to the next hide. This one's thicker, heavier. Cow, not goat. The fur is patchy, matted with whatever it died in. You press the edge of the blade and begin again. Scrape, pull, scrape, drag. A rhythm, the same as yesterday, the same as tomorrow. The stink gets worse as the day warms. Not much warmth, but just enough to wake the rot buried in the snowbanks. You don't notice the blood in the snow anymore. It mixes too easily with the runoff from the vats. Pink rivulets snake toward the drains dug into the corner of the yard. The drains are frozen. They always are this time of year. The blood pools there, clots into a crust, and waits for spring. Your back begins to ache. The strap you tied around your ribs loosens, and your tunic shifts with each breath. You ignore it. To stop is worse. To stop means cold settles deeper into your bones and your hands forget how to hold. Someone coughs behind you, a sharp, wet sound. You don't turn. The last boy who coughed that way was gone by morning. You finish the edge of the hide, stand, stretch your spine until it cracks once. Then you bend again. Another hide, another scrape, another breath into the frozen yard. The day is far from done. The second hide is colder than the first, still stiff in places where ice clings like bone. You drag it onto the beam, fingers numbing through the cloth. Then press your elbow against the fold to flatten it out. Your knife catches on a thick patch of flesh near the spine. You saw gently until it gives, a wet snap that echoes against the stone wall of the yard. You pause, shift your grip, and keep scraping. The blade trembles slightly in your hand. You can't tell if it's the cold or your own body that's shaking. Either way, the work doesn't stop. To your left, an older man rinses a hide in a trough of gray water. He's hunched deep, sleeves rolled to the elbow, hands cracked and red with exposure. He dips the skin, slaps it once against the rim, then hauls it up again with a grunt. The water drips in slow arcs. A clump of hair floats past. He doesn't look up. No one ever looks up in the tannery unless they have to. The snow reflects too much light now, even under cloud. It stings the eyes. You squint toward the beam, focus on the next strip of flesh. There's a pile of scraped skins behind the shed, covered in frost and waiting to be lifted to the drying frame. You were meant to help carry them, but the boy who works with you hasn't returned since dawn. No one asked why. No one ever does. The work reshapes itself. One body gone means another bends deeper. That body is yours today. The bell rings again, twice this time. You glance at the horizon. Still no sun, just a paler stretch of gray above the ridge. You wipe your scraper against your boot, then step toward the pile. Each hide is stiff and folded, the edges flaking where the frost has chewed through. You bend at the knees, lift one, feel the tug in your back. The skin doesn't give. You drop your scraper and use both hands. It peels free with a wet gasp. Underneath, the ground is black and frozen. You see the mark where blood pooled overnight and froze into a puddle the size of your foot. You carry the hide to the frame. It sags in your arms, heavier than it should be. Not from size, from water trapped in the flesh, from weight left too long on frozen stone. At the frame, you hoist it over the top beam and begin to spread it. The rope lashings are stiff. You fumble with the knots, your fingers too blunt from cold to pull them cleanly. You bite one between your teeth, tug until it loosens. The salt from the hide touches your tongue. You spit into the snow, then tie it off. The wind picks up from the north. It moves low along the yard, scouring the stones and carrying the stench of the vats toward the mountain road. No one walks that way in winter, but the smell still travels, curling into the forest like a warning. The trees bend away from it, their needles dull and rimmed with ice. You wipe your nose on your sleeve, then return for another skin. A cry goes up near the curing racks. Not loud, not panicked, just sharp. You glance up, see a figure doubled over, one hand gripping their ribs. Someone rushes over. Then no one moves. You hear the scrape of a pail being set down. That's all. The hide in your hand slips. You catch it with your knee, then adjust your grip and walk on. No one mentions the cry. Not now, not later. You spread the next hide. You tie the next knot. You hold your breath while the wind cuts between the beams. It whistles through the leather like breath through broken teeth. And still, the work continues, because the hides are not finished, and neither are you. Your boots stick slightly with each step now. The blood, once frozen and crisp, has begun to thaw just enough to turn the snow beneath your feet into a red-gray paste. It clings to the seams, softens the worn soles, seeps into the wool. You stopped noticing the smell sometime after the first hour, or maybe you just adjusted to it. The reek of urine-soaked hides, lime, grease, old blood, and something older still. It's always here, coating the back of your throat like spoiled lard. You don't breathe deeply. Another hide. This one stinks more than the others. Goat, you think. Thin and sour. It crackles as you unfold it, stiff with frost and poorly skinned. Gashes running jagged along the edges, holes punched through the belly. Someone worked in haste, or with cold hands. You scrape anyway, knowing the leather will never stretch right. It'll end up as patching cloth, maybe, or scraps for mitt repair. You drag the blade along the flesh side, watch the residue come away in slivers. Your knuckles split again on the fourth pull. You feel the skin go. A small tear at the base of the thumb. It doesn't bleed right away, just opens. You press the wound against your tunic for warmth, then go back to work. The scraper slips. You adjust your grip. To your right, someone is arguing softly in a dialect you half understand. Two men standing by the barrel of lime water, gesturing toward the pile of unsoaked hides. One shakes his head, the other just stares. They're both covered in spatters, wet streaks from the barrel's rim and dry stains where the lime has eaten through the wool. You turn away before their eyes catch yours. Conflict is slow here, cold and deliberate, and almost always ends in silence. The yard's edge is lined with drying frames, some full, others empty but stained. You walk toward the farthest one. It's warped, the beam sagging slightly in the middle from too many winters and not enough repair. Still, it holds weight. You drape your next hide over it and begin tying the corners. The wind flutters the edges. You tighten the knots. The frame creaks softly as the hide pulls taut. You step back, thumb the edge, then let your arm drop. The sky overhead is the same dull smear, gray pressed over gray. No break, no sun, no shadow, just a cold that has learned to sit still. You stretch your neck, roll your shoulders, and feel the damp settle deeper between your joints. A boy walks past you, shoulders hunched, dragging a sack of trimmed flesh to the bone pit. He doesn't look up. His cheek is raw on one side, wind-burnt and cracked, a line of dried spit tracing down from the corner of his mouth. He limps slightly. His sack leaks. You step aside to let him pass, then bend to pick up the trail he leaves. Clumps of pale meat and frozen fat. You gather them into the pail and carry it to the shed. Inside, the air is worse, warmer, thicker, enclosed with the stink of wet hair and rendered grease. Someone stirs a vat in the back, a thick paddle moving slowly through a mixture too foul to name. You set the pail down without a word and step out again. The cold slaps you when you return to the yard. A sharp breath, a reawakening. You close your eyes against it, then reopen them, already moving. The next hide waits. Your hands still function. You walk toward the beam, shoulders low, spine stiff, eyes half-lidded. You don't feel the ache in your feet until you stop walking. You don't stop. Not yet. The rope is still in your hand. The knife is still at your hip. The day isn't over. The beam groans as you press another hide flat against it, the wood swollen from years of cold and soaked fat. You rest your hand there for a second longer than you should, not for comfort, just to feel something steady. The skin beneath your palm is already thawing at the edges, greasy and stiff, the surface pocked where worms had started in before the frost stopped them. You pick up your scraper again. The metal is stiff with dried lime, the handle slick. You wipe it once on your sleeve, not to clean it, but out of habit. Then you begin. The first stroke sticks. You pull harder, muscles tightening through the shoulder and down your back. The flesh peels in uneven curls, sticky and cold. You lean into it, weight forward, knees bent slightly to keep your balance on the slick patch forming beneath the beam. Your hand slips. You catch yourself, smear your knuckles in filth, and keep going. A man near the wall vomits, quietly. No one looks up. You hear the wet splash, the scrape of his boot as he turns away. The noise fades. You keep scraping. The hide is half clean when the bell rings again. 3 dull peals this time, dragging through the fog that's crept into the yard. Break. Not for rest. Just time to step away before your hands cramp beyond use. You drop your scraper, let it clatter against the edge of the beam, and step back. Your palms burn. You rub them together and blow into the folds, but the warmth barely reaches your fingertips. In the center of the yard, a fire smolders in a low pit ringed with stones blackened from years of use. A few bodies huddle there, not for heat, just habit. You join them without speaking, sit on a broken crate, and stretch your legs toward the ember glow. Your boots steam faintly, soles dark with melted snow and blood. The fire crackles once. No one responds. The man across from you is missing 2 fingers on his right hand. You notice now only because his glove has come off, and the stubs are wrapped in cloth black from both grease and time. He doesn't hide them. He chews something, jaw moving slow. Bread, maybe, or bark. He doesn't offer. You don't ask. A boy beside you breathes through his mouth, shallow even. His eyes are shut. You watch his chest rise, fall, rise again. The smoke curls around him. His lips are chapped raw. His sleeves are too short. The skin on his forearms is red and cracked. You look away. Someone tosses a splintered bone into the fire. It pops, spits grease. A spark lands near your boot. You don't move. It dies out. The bell rings again, one long tone. You rise. Everyone does. Not at once, not in unison, but with the same rhythm. Slow, bent, wordless. You walk back to the beam. The scraper is where you left it. The hide still clings to the wood, edges curling in the cold. You take your place, square your shoulders, and begin again. The blade drags. The skin tears. Your hands ache. The sun never comes. The day simply continues. The snow doesn't fall. It waits. The smell thickens. The ground gets softer. The rope around your waist tightens slightly as you shift your weight forward. The pain in your lower back returns. You welcome it. You press harder into the hide. The edge gives. The flesh peels. You breathe in. Salt, rot, lime, blood. You do not stop. You do not look up. The yard is full. The frames are waiting. The next skin lies behind you. You scrape. You breathe. You remain. The light begins to change, not from the sun, but from the way the mist settles against the tannery walls. It thickens near the top beams, filters down through the frames and ropes like a breath held too long, then released all at once. You notice it only when the shapes of the far workers blur, their outlines dulled, movements softened. You don't slow. There's nothing to see that you haven't already. Your blade skips across a seam in the hide. A ridge of gristle lifts with it, stubborn and slick. You bear down. The edge slips slightly, catches, then cuts clean. You nod, not from satisfaction, but confirmation. One piece done, the next already waiting. The man beside you shifts. His breath rattles with each stroke, a wheeze that gets louder the longer he works. His hands are thick, calloused, brown with years of lime and blood and tannin. He doesn't speak. You've stood next to him for months and never heard his voice. His scraper is older than yours. Its handle wrapped in leather, cracked and stiff, the blade darkened at the edge like old bone. He works slower, but his hides are cleaner. You glance once at his beam, then return to your own. The hide you're working now is tough. Not thick, just dried too long before soaking. Neglected, maybe. The hair's already slipped from one side, leaving a patch of bare flesh that crumbles when scraped. You do your best. No one will notice. Or if they do, they won't say. You stretch the skin tighter with your elbow, lean in, and keep dragging. The yard grows louder with silence. That kind of silence filled with effort. Grunts, the squeal of wet hide against beam, the slap of slush underfoot, the occasional clang of a dropped tool. No voices, no song. Only the low percussion of work. Somewhere behind you, a gate opens. A mule brays once, the sound echoing down the narrow slope from the village path. A cart's being pulled in. More hides, maybe, or firewood, or meat. You don't turn to look. Turning breaks rhythm. Rhythm is survival. You shift your stance. The snow beneath you is packed now. Gray at the surface, red-brown beneath, like a wound frozen in layers. Your feet ache, but not from cold, from standing, from the pressure of boot seams against skin long rubbed raw. You lift one heel briefly, just enough to loosen the blood flow, then plant it again, another hide. You take it from the stack, shake off the frost, and lay it flat. The edge has curled tight. You press your weight against it, your chest to the beam, your fingers spreading the hide wide like pulling a blanket taut. The scraper finds its groove. You settle into motion. The mist thickens again. It's harder now to see the end of the yard. The drying frames are silhouettes. The figures between them, shadows. It doesn't matter. You know the shape of this place too well to need sight. Your hands know where the edge is. Your boots know which boards are loose. Your lungs know when to stop breathing. Your thumb splits open at the knuckle. You see it before you feel it. A slow bead of red rising from a crack beneath a smear of lime. You wipe it on your tunic. The cloth is already stained. The blood barely shows. You flex the thumb, test its strength. It bends. That's enough. The bell does not ring, but someone stops moving. You feel it more than hear it, the absence of rhythm. Then a footstep, a voice, low, one word, then nothing. You keep scraping. The frame behind you shifts in the wind. The rope creaks. You adjust your grip, pull another strip clean from the hide. Your hands tremble slightly now. Not from cold, from wear. The light is fading again, not fast, not final, just enough to remind you it never really arrived. The beam under your arms is wet. The hide is slick. Your blade is dull. You scrape. You press. You hold. Still here. Still scraping. Still useful. You drag the scraper across the hide again and again until there's nothing left but the grain side, smooth and dull under the lightless sky. Your back pulses with each pull now. Not in sharp pain, that left you hours ago, but in a slow, dragging heaviness that feels deeper than muscle. You straighten briefly, let your spine stretch, and feel the wet fabric of your tunic pull tight across your shoulders. It makes a sound like old paper tearing. You exhale and lean forward again. The hide curls slightly at the edges. That means it's drying too fast or too uneven. You adjust the weight, pressing the corners with stones gathered from the yard's edge. You check the knots. One is loose. You retie it without thinking, fingers fumbling but persistent. The rope is stiff, salt-cured from past winters. You have no sensation left in the tips of your fingers, only pressure. You don't need more than that. Snow falls now, not fast, just flurries, dry and fine, whispering down in crooked paths. It settles on the half-scraped hides and begins to melt into them. You scrape faster. You have to. Once the moisture seeps deep, it ruins the tension in the skin. It takes on a strange weight, like wet parchment. You work quickly, breath fogging in bursts, fingers cramping. The boy returns, the one who vanished at dawn. He walks past the racks without looking at anyone, carrying a bundle of sticks too small to matter. His coat is gone. His arms are bare, skin scabbed with cold burn. You hear him cough. Not the sharp kind, the deep, tired kind that sounds like it's rising from the ribs. No one stops him. He disappears toward the shed, leaving a trail of melting snow in his wake. Your scraper slips. It gouges the hide near the edge. You swear once, quietly, not because of the damage, no one will care about the tear, but because it breaks the flow. You pause, reset your grip, drag slower, a cleaner pull. The blade shakes in your hand. You grip tighter. The tremble fades. The man beside you leaves, just stands, wipes his blade on his apron, and walks away. No signal, no bell. He's done, for now, or for the day, or for good. You don't know. You watch his boots vanish into the gray, then you go back to work. You shift your stance. Your knees pop. You scrape. You listen. The snow thickens. It turns the blood patches into soft clouds. The steam rising from the barrel house curls and floats sideways. You smell boiling fat, wet ash, and something faintly sweet. The tannin brew, maybe, beginning to bubble. You swallow dry. Your mouth tastes like iron. You take another hide from the stack. Smaller, lighter, a winter kill, thin. You pull it onto the beam, spread it flat, and let your weight hold it down. You scrape the edge, careful this time. The blade whispers instead of drags. The rhythm returns. Push, pull, press, peel. Somewhere in the yard a frame collapses. A rope must have snapped. You hear the wood split and the hide slap wetly against the ground. No one cries out. Someone swears. Then footsteps. Then silence. The snow falls harder now. You squint to keep the flakes from your eyes. They gather in your hair, on your shoulders, in the fold between your glove and sleeve. You shake your arm once. Keep scraping. The bell rings. Finally. 4 long tones. The end of shift. Not rest. Just the shift. You stop mid-stroke. Drop the scraper. Stand upright. Your knees lock. You wipe your hands on your thighs, flex your fingers, blink against the cold. The hide is half done. You will return to it tomorrow, if it's still there. If you are. The bell fades before you move. You let its last echo vanish into the gray sky while your hands hang limp at your sides. The scraper lies where it fell, blade angled just enough to catch the soft light filtering through the mist. You don't pick it up. Not now. Your body's too heavy. The weight of the hide, the day, the cold, it all folds around your chest like damp cloth. You step away from the beam slowly, 1 foot before the other, testing each movement like a child learning to walk. The snow underfoot crunches in a new way now, wetter, thicker. Your boots drag red slush where you pass. You don't look behind. The tannery yard empties without ceremony. Men walk without talking. A few boys run, not from energy but from habit, an echo of warmth they remember from other seasons. You see one slip and fall, hear the thud, the sharp inhale, the shuffle of feet moving around him. No one stops to help. He rises on his own, limps to the far shed, disappears. You make your way toward the same door, pausing once beside the water trough. The surface has frozen again, a thin skim of ice with tiny bubbles trapped beneath it like insects. You break it with your knuckles. The water beneath is black and still. You dip your hands in briefly. They burn. The sting of nerves waking or dying, you're not sure which. You pull your hands back, shake them once, then press them under your arms as you walk. Inside, the warmth is not true, just an absence of wind. The walls hold a bit of heat, soaked from breath and grease and bodies packed in too tight. The room is long, low, filled with smoke. A single lamp burns at the center, its flame licking at the soot-covered glass. The smell here is different. No snow, no blood. Just damp wood, sweat, the sour tang of old bread. You sit near the edge of the floorboards, not near the lamp, not near the others. Your legs stretch out. Your hands fall limp again. The pain in your shoulders becomes clearer now. You feel each knot in the muscle, each place the cold has stiffened into something permanent. You close your eyes and lean your head back against the wall. Around you, a few voices rise, low, murmured. Nothing urgent, nothing soft. One man curses the scraper that snapped in his grip. Another mutters about the racks, about ropes left too long in the snow. Someone laughs once, short and without humor. You don't join in, you listen. A bowl is passed to you. Wooden, rough at the edge, half filled with something warm. Broth, maybe bean, maybe root. You take it without looking up, bring it to your lips. The warmth hits your teeth first, then your throat. It tastes like salt, ash, and metal. You drink it all. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve. The fabric scratches the corner of your lip. You don't check if it bleeds. One boy near the door starts to sing, quietly. A single line of an old prayer. His voice cracks. Someone hushes him. He stops. The silence returns. You lower the bowl to the floor, rest your palms on your knees, stare at the wood beneath your boots. The grain is worn to smoothness, stained dark from years of damp and dirt. You find a knot in the board and trace it with your thumb. The bell won't ring again tonight, but there's no sleep yet, just stillness, just the ache of bodies trying to remember how to stop moving. You don't close your eyes. You wait. The floor creaks beneath you. The broth settles in your stomach. You are still breathing, still cold, still here. Night doesn't fall in the tannery so much as it thickens. The air indoors turns to soup. Not warm, not fragrant, just dense with breath and soot. The single lamp burns lower now, its wick trimmed too far or soaked too deep. The flame flickers sideways, its reflection smearing against the damp stones like an oil stain. You stay where you are, back against the wall, legs stretched out, palms resting on your knees like forgotten tools. No one has left yet. No one moves with purpose. A few men have curled up along the planks, wrapped in what passes for blankets. Old sacking, rough wool, curled hides, still damp at the edges. One boy sleeps near the firebox, his face pressed to the wall. His breath fogs the timber with each exhale. You watch it for a while. It's the only motion you trust. You shift slightly, just enough to ease the pressure off your spine. Your hips click. A slow sound, like ice breaking under pressure. You breathe through your teeth, short and shallow, to keep the motion quiet. The man beside you stirs at the sound, then settles again, his chin sinking lower to his chest. Someone opens the side door. A blade of cold slices the room before it's closed again. The figure slips inside, heavy boots and frost-covered cloak, and leans against the doorframe. No snow shakes loose, just ice. A faint sound, like bark splintering. He says nothing. His eyes scan the room once, then he lowers himself to the floor, his back to the same wall as yours. 2 beams down. He pulls his hands under his cloak, breathes once, long and slow. The smell of animal fat and wet cloth follows him in. From the corner a cough begins again, the deep one, rattling. The same boy. His head is still buried in the folds of his arms. You hear the cough rise, break, then fade into a dry wheeze. No one moves. No one brings water. There is none. He quiets. The sound doesn't return. The room adjusts. The floorboards beneath you are warming from bodies alone. You feel it, a slow shift in the cold, not enough to comfort, only enough to slow the shivering. Your feet still hurt, but they no longer burn. They've gone quiet, the kind of quiet that worries you. You rub them once, hard, through the leather. Nothing. You stop. A tin plate passes your way. Hard crust, some rind. You break the crust with your thumbs, bite. It tastes like wood and salt. You chew, you swallow. It settles behind the broth, presses deeper. You don't feel hunger lift, only the ache of emptiness dim. You pass the plate on. The man beside you takes it without looking. Outside, the wind begins again. It doesn't howl, just pushes, a constant pressure along the outer wall, like something leaning hard against the stone, testing its weight. You listen to it, eyes half closed, your breath sinking with its rhythm. One gust, one silence, one more. Your hands slide into your tunic. You press your palms to your chest, feel your ribs beneath the cloth. Count them, slowly. 7, 8. The rest you lose track of. You stop. A voice speaks near the fire, a low tone telling no story. Just words. A warning, maybe. A memory. You don't catch them all. The voice stops before you decide if it matters. You lower your head, not to sleep, but to rest the weight of it against the wall. The stone is cold. You welcome it. It reminds you you're still alive. The lamp sputters once, then steadies. No one sleeps yet. Not fully. Everyone waits, in the half-dark, in the half-warmth, in the space between one storm and the next. You open your eyes to the lamp still burning. Time has passed. How much, you don't know. No one speaks. The room hasn't shifted. Only the air has grown closer, thicker with smoke that clings to the rafters and drips downward like fog. Your back aches from sitting, your knees locked from stillness. You stretch one leg slowly, feel the joint catch, then release. You listen for the fire. Nothing. Only the sound of breath and the faint tap of water somewhere in the walls. A figure near the door rises, rubbing his arms, stepping carefully around the sleeping bodies. He lifts the latch, opens the door, and exits into the white without a word. The door closes with a soft thud. A draft follows. The cold returns like a knife slid slowly beneath your skin. You stand, not quickly, not smoothly. You lean against the wall, press your hand to your thigh until your knee unlocks. The ache is deep now, not sharp, but embedded, like old rope that can't be untied. You walk to the far end of the room where the cloaks hang, stiff with frost, dark with use. Yours is there. You pull it on, thread the cord through the loop, tie it once. The knot sits crooked against your collarbone. You don't fix it. You step outside. The yard is silent. The snow has thickened again, falling soft and even, blanketing the blood from the day before. The beams are still there, half buried. The hides are not. Someone moved them, or the wind did. You walk past the curing racks, the frames now skeletal, some leaning, one collapsed. The scrape of your boots is muffled by the new layer of snow. You stop at the edge of the pit where offcuts and spoiled hides are burned. It smokes, faintly, but no flame rises. You squat beside it, pick up a bone from the edge, turn it over in your palm. It's old, blackened, hollow. You toss it back. It lands with a soft thump, disappears into the gray ash. The tannery wall rises behind you, rough with stone and patched with boards that never fit right. Water leaks from the corners. It freezes before it touches the ground. You follow the line of frost with your eyes, then look upward. The sky is still the same, not morning, not night. just endless dim. A bird flies overhead, wings tucked tight. It makes no sound. You return to the beam where you worked earlier. The hide is gone, probably hung or discarded. You trace the place it rested, the groove left by your pressure, the dark stripe of blood that seeped from your glove. You place your palm flat against it. The wood is cold and slick. You leave it there. A door creaks open behind you. Someone calls once, not a name, just a word. A call to return. You don't move. You let the word hang. Let it fade. You hear the door close again. No one checks. You walk toward the frames. One still holds a hide, half-tied, its corners curled. You reach for it, untie the first knot. The rope resists. You pull harder. The tension breaks suddenly, sending a spray of snow from the top rail. It lands on your shoulder. You brush it off. Finish the untie. Drop the hide. The thud is soft. You fold it once, then again. It cracks at the crease. You carry it inside. The door clicks shut behind you. The lamp burns lower. The others sleep now, or pretend to. You slide the hide against the wall, near the corner where the salt blocks are stacked. You sit again in your place. You don't take off your cloak. You close your eyes. You wait. The second bell doesn't come. It never does on days like this. The tannery wakes not by signal, but by cold. The kind that creeps back into joints too quickly. The kind that tightens the lungs before the breath has steadied. You don't sleep, but you rise like someone who has. The floorboards shift underfoot. The man beside you is gone. So is the boy near the firebox. Only the lamp remains, burned out now, its glass fogged with soot and breath. You stretch your legs slowly, press your fists into the small of your back. Feel the stiffness ripple from spine to shoulders. A cough rakes the far wall. Dry this time, no wetness, no crackling. Just a warning, the kind that marks a body entering the next stage of cold. You ignore it. You grab your gloves, now stiff from yesterday's sweat, and shove your hands into them. Outside, the snow is smoother than it should be. No footsteps, no tracks, no signs of motion, as if the yard has decided to cover itself, to erase what's underneath. The beams are gone again, not literally but visually, buried under a soft crust. You step lightly, boots crunching through, breaking the illusion. You return to your post, the familiar beam. Someone's already scraped there. Not well, but enough to leave lines. You don't mind. You take your scraper from the rack, test its edge against your thumb. Dull. You wipe the blade, then lean into your stance. The new hide is smaller, cleaner, a younger kill. You don't think about what it was. You just brace the edges, tighten the cords, and begin. The motion is slow at first. Your hands aren't ready. They forgot the rhythm overnight. Or maybe they remember too well and resist. You coax them into motion, fingers clenched, wrists stiff. After a few passes, the scraping smooths out. The blade sings its low tune again, a rasping drag across frozen flesh. The mist rolls in thicker today. Not just fog, tannery steam. It clings low, settles around your ankles, winds up the legs of your trousers and into your coat. You breathe through your nose. The smell is stronger than ever. Someone turned the hides too late. The rot has begun beneath the frost. The stench of decay blooms quietly, sweet and wrong. You scrape harder to distract yourself. The hide fights you. Each stroke feels like tearing cloth. Your shoulders burn. Your elbows lock. You press harder, too hard. The blade skips and bites your finger. Just the tip. A clean slice. Blood beads up, bright against the hide, then smears. You wipe it with your glove and keep going. Behind you, someone sings under their breath. A woman's voice. Low, slow, old. You recognize the tune, not the words, just the rhythm. A song for sharpening, maybe, or mourning. She keeps singing. The snow keeps falling. You scrape. A gust of wind lifts the curtain of fog for a moment. You glimpse the racks. 3 are full, hides flapping slightly. 1 sags, the top beam bowed. Someone will fix it. Maybe not today. You tie off the hide when it's clean, haul it toward the rack. Your boots slip twice, knees bending low, muscles shaking to stay upright. You reach the beam, throw the skin over, lash it by feel. The rope sticks. You bite it loose, not again, pull tight. You turn back. Another hide waits, another pull, another breath. You walk the same path. You step in your old footprints. They're fading. So are you. But you're still here. You still scrape. You still serve. The wind picks up late in the morning, though morning is only a word now, not a change in the sky. The light remains gray, the same weightless fog that presses down on the yard, on the hides, on your shoulders. The wind snakes in from the north side over the ridge, carrying a scent sharper than rot. You know it at once. Wolf musk, faint but unmistakable. You pause, blade mid-stroke, and taste it on the back of your tongue. Then you keep scraping. The hide beneath your hand is fresh, not just by date, but by smell. The fur side still holds the scent of the body. Snow, animal oil, fear. Whoever flensed it did a poor job. Bits of sinew cling to the edges, curling and gray. You slide your scraper under one strand and flick it away. It lands on your boot. You don't brush it off. Nearby, the salt trough steams faintly. One man stirs the brine with a stick, bare-handed, skin red up to the wrist. He doesn't wince. He dips again, then drags another hide from the liquid, flopping it onto the rack with a sound like wet parchment. He works alone. Everyone does. You lift your scraper again and pull. The motion vibrates through your arms into your neck. You feel it in your jaw. Your teeth ache from clenching. You try to relax your grip. You fail. The cold makes every motion feel urgent. You cannot loosen. You cannot stop. A scream breaks the silence. Not a cry. A short, high sound. Sharp. Then nothing. You stand upright too quickly. Your lower back locks. You wince and turn your head. A group of men near the edge of the yard gather in a crooked line. Something is on the ground. A form. You can't see the face. Someone leans over it. Someone else walks away. You don't move closer. The work won't pause for grief or curiosity. The form is lifted, dragged. The snow behind it darkens. You turn away before it's carried past. You drag the hide from your beam and stack it on the sledge with the others. The pile shifts slightly. You adjust it. No one helps. You don't ask. The sky darkens a shade, not storm dark, just heavier. The kind of light that presses into your temples. You blink slowly, steady your breath, and walk toward the shed. A new stack of hides waits by the door, still steaming slightly, delivered from town. You bend, hook your arms under the first one, lift. It resists. Water runs from the folds. You stagger once, then hold. You carry it back to the beam, every step pulling at your spine. You lower it, unroll it. The hair slips off in clumps. You begin again. The rhythm returns slowly. Scrape. Shift, adjust, breathe. Someone starts to sing again. Not the woman this time. A man's voice, deep, broken. Not a song exactly. A chant, a counting. 1, 2, 3. Then silence. The hide tears at the edge. You curse under your breath. Press harder with the blade. Clean the center. The blood from earlier has dried at your wrist. It cracks when you flex. Another gust of wind, another slice of air that smells like fur and fear. You scrape, you tie, you breathe. Your knees tremble when you shift your weight. Your mouth is dry. Your lips have split again. You lick them, salt and blood. The bell doesn't ring. You don't need it. You know when to stop. You don't. You keep moving. Because the hides are not done. Because the day is not over. Because you are still here. The hides begin to freeze again before the sun sets. Not that you see the sun, but you know the time by how the air changes. The wet in your breath stiffens, the snow turns granular, and the fat smeared on your scraper begins to harden into white film. The hide beneath your hands stiffens edge first, curling slightly like paper burning in reverse. You work faster, but not better. The blade catches. You pull. The skin tears down the center. You stop, just for a moment. A boy runs past, slipping slightly as he crosses the open yard. He doesn't look at you. He doesn't speak. His coat is too large, sleeves dragging wet behind him. He carries nothing. He is called by no one. You watch him vanish behind the curing racks, his footfalls muffled by snow. Another gust follows behind, curling smoke from the ash pit into the open air. You smell burnt leather, wet wool, scorched bone. Your hands have stopped bleeding, but not from healing. The blood has simply stopped finding its way to your fingers. You can feel your thumbs less each hour. The scraper rests in your grip more from habit than command. You glance down at the hide. Useless now, too torn. You bend to lift it, but your back warns you. You rest one hand on your thigh, pause, then try again. The skin folds limply, resisting your hold like dead weight. You haul it toward the discard pile at the edge of the yard, past the salt block, past the collapsed rack. The pile smokes faintly, hides piled and salted and left to forget. You throw yours on top. It lands without sound, just weight on weight. You return to your beam. Another hide waits. You check the edges, test the center. Thawed just enough to scrape. You set it, square your shoulders, and begin again. The sky darkens further. The first stars, faint and buried in cloud, flicker low above the ridge. You don't see them, but you know they're there. You feel their shape behind your eyes, cold, distant, watching. Your knees ache. You bend slower now, rise slower still. Each motion requires thought, not memory. You've long since memorized each gesture. Now it takes will. You place your blade, you pull, you brace, you scrape. The mist begins to rise again from the vats, steam that moves like breath. It winds through the yard between the beams and racks and boots. You inhale through your nose. It scalds, not hot, just wrong. You hold your breath and keep scraping. A man near the wall groans, quietly. He doesn't fall. He leans into the beam, one hand clenched on the wood. You don't look again. He'll stand or he won't. No one helps. Everyone scrapes. The bell rings once, not to end the work, but to remind. A pause bell, a breath bell. You stop only long enough to flex your hands. You press your wrists to your ribs. Your heart is slow. That's good. You scrape better that way. You look up. The racks are full now, skins tied in rows, their edges stiffening in the wind. They flap like broken sails. You don't count them. They don't belong to you. The hide under your hands pulls one last time. You finish the edge. You tie it off with rope, fingers fumbling. The knot is crooked. It holds. You step back. The beam is empty again. The snow falls harder. You look to the next hide. You take it. You begin again, still moving, still scraping, still here. The yard sounds different in this light. Not quieter, never that, but heavier, as though the snow has decided to absorb what it can't cover. Every footstep lands deeper now. Every scrape is duller. Even the wind, which once sang through the frames, now just groans low across the hides. You feel it in your chest more than in your ears, like a drum beaten far beneath the earth. The hide you work is old, not just in age, but in smell. It has been frozen and thawed too many times. The hair came off too soon, the flesh beneath already brittle. You scrape it anyway, even as it crumbles under your blade. The motion is what matters, the doing, the rhythm. The rope still loops around your wrist. The knot digs in when you lean. You pause to wipe your nose with the back of your glove. The leather is stiff, and you feel the crust of dried fat smear across your cheek. You don't check it. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters here except the blade and the beam, and the weight of each hide waiting behind you. Someone stumbles near the salt pit. You hear the crunch, the gasp, the quick shuffle of boots regaining balance. No one laughs, no one comments. That kind of thing happens too often to be strange. You look up only long enough to see the figure rise and walk on, limping now. You straighten slowly, arching your back until the pain sharpens into clarity. Your spine has locked in two places. You run a hand along it, press the knots, and return to the work. The hide splits again. You curse under your breath. The words vanish into the snow. The racks near the east wall lean at an angle. One corner has begun to sag. The skins tied there hang loose, their ropes wet and swollen. You consider fixing it, but not now. You finish your current hide, fold it roughly, and toss it onto the waiting sledge. The thud is soft. The others piled beneath it shift slightly. You glance once at the top beam, half expecting it to creak. It doesn't. You reach for another skin. This one is frozen solid. You drop it flat on the beam and pound it once with your fist. The thud echoes. A man nearby glances your way, then turns back to his own work. You pound it again. The ice flakes off. The hide bends just enough to work. The scraper slides easier now. The edges are thin. You peel them gently, each motion slow and deliberate. You stop once to suck air through your teeth. The pain in your wrists is new. Not soreness, something deeper. You shake your hands out, keep scraping. From the shed, smoke rises again, thicker this time. You smell burnt hair. Someone is boiling down offcuts. The smell climbs into your nose, into your throat, and stays there. You gag once, quietly, then keep working. The bell rings, short, sharp. Someone calls a name, not yours. The voice is swallowed by the fog. You scrape. You tie. You lift. The snow settles into your hood, melts down the back of your neck. You feel it soak your collar, slide along your spine. You reach the rack. You hang the hide. Your hands shake. You ignore them. The wind picks up again. The ropes flutter. A piece of cloth, maybe once part of a coat, flaps from the corner of a beam. You watch it for a moment. It dances, then stops. You walk back. Another hide, another knot. Another breath through split lips. You lower yourself to the beam. You raise the blade, still scraping, still cold, still here. The scraper no longer feels like a tool. It has become part of your hand, not gripped, not held, but attached by some agreement made between bone and habit. The metal has lost its shine entirely, dulled by lime, by flesh, by weather. The wooden handle is cracked, wrapped in a strip of hide torn from a spoiled skin weeks ago. You glance down at it as you work. It doesn't look back. It doesn't need to. The hide beneath you is almost black. Boar, you think, or something like it. Coarse, thick. The edge curls even as you tie it to the beam, resisting your attempts to stretch it flat. You press your body weight against it, shoulder leaning hard, and begin. The first stroke is clean, the second drags. The third peels free a strip of meat too thick to be useful. You flick it away, hear it land wet somewhere behind you. The mist has returned, lower this time, creeping over the ground like breath exhaled by the stones. It coils around your boots, wraps your calves, tries to lift your balance as you shift. The tannery becomes a space of silhouettes. You recognize workers only by posture, by movement. A limp, a bent neck, the way someone tightens rope with one hand and their teeth. Names are not needed, not anymore. A dog passes through. You hear its nails on the stone, see only the shape of it. Ribs too visible, one ear torn, steam rising from its back. It pauses near the racks, sniffs a pile of trimmings, then vanishes. No one stops it. Dogs belong to no one here. They eat what's left. They leave what isn't. You scrape slower now, not from fatigue, though it's there, coiled deep in your shoulders and knees. Slower because the hide is stubborn. It cracks when pushed too hard. The air is colder today, the kind of cold that stiffens blades and swells knots. You brace your elbows against the beam, move your hands in short strokes, save what little strength remains in your back. The bells are silent. Someone forgot, or decided not to ring them. No one complains. The work doesn't change. The rhythm stays. The snow begins again, sudden and straight. Thick flakes that land fast and cling to everything. Ropes, frames, lashes, the curve of your hood. You blink against it. It blinds only for a second, then fades into the background like everything else. A boy drops a bucket near the ash pit. The clang is loud, wrong, startling. You look up. He crouches to pick it up, but slips. His hand lands in slush. He winces, then stands, then walks away. No one helps him. The bucket stays where it fell. You finish the hide. Not perfect, not clean, but done. You lift it over your shoulder, the weight pulling down across your collarbone. You carry it to the rack, tie it, then press your thumb against the knot to test its strength. It holds. You move on. The wind cuts sideways now, sharper, meaner. It finds the gaps in your sleeves, the hole in your left boot. Your sock is wet already. You don't feel it. You take another hide. It's frozen into a fold. You bend it against your knee. It resists, then cracks. You press it flat on the beam. Begin again. The sun doesn't rise. The sky lightens slightly, then fades again. The ground is hidden beneath trampled snow and frozen hair. The scraper moves. The rope tightens. You remain. The cold has thickened, not in degrees, but in how it lingers, how it moves through the wool of your tunic and burrows into the bend of your elbows, the soft of your inner thighs. You feel it now in places it hadn't touched yesterday, beneath your tongue, behind your eyes, deep in the arch of your feet, where the leather of your boots has split and softened, stitched too many times to hold shape. The hide on your beam is heavier than expected. Hoarse, maybe. You roll it out and it drags slow, thudding against the frame, edges stiff, corners crumbling. You tighten the cords anyway. They fray as you pull. You tie them off before they snap. No time to find another rope. You scrape with both hands now, one pushing, one steadying, shoulders squared against the angle. The blade skips on the wet patches. You go over them again. A deep groove has formed on your beam from repetition. Your scraper slides into it, guided without thought. You stop noticing your hands. Only the motion remains. The wind shifts again. This time it whistles. Not a song, a warning. It moves through the racks, shakes the drying hides. Some slap loose, hanging by one corner. One falls. A man nearby curses but doesn't run to fix it. He ties off the hide in front of him first. Then he walks, steady, and lifts the fallen skin with both arms, as if lifting a sack of grain. He ties it tighter. Then he returns. No one thanks him. You glance toward the edge of the yard. The stone wall there is coated in ice, thin veins glistening where water has seeped through the gaps and frozen mid-drip. A bird perches on the corner, feathers fluffed to double its size. It blinks once, then again. You look down. When you look back, it's gone. The mist curls around your legs now, deeper than before. You can't see your boots. You don't need to. The path between the beam and the rack is known. You've walked it too many times. You could walk it blind. Sometimes you do. Your wrist gives a sharp twitch. You pause. Not pain. A warning. You rotate it slowly. It clicks twice. You keep working. The hide tears at one edge. You mutter. You fold it along the spine and haul it toward the rack. It slips once. You drop to one knee, press your shoulder against it and lift. The wind bites your neck. You feel the sting of snow in your collar. You let it burn. It reminds you your skin still feels, still belongs to you. Another figure passes, the boy with the cracked sleeves. His hands are wrapped in cloth now, soaked and dark. He carries nothing, just walks. You watch him reach the wall, stop, stare. Then he turns, returns, still carrying nothing, still watched by no one but you. You tie the hide with stiff fingers, tugging each knot until your shoulders tremble. One slips. You tie it again. It holds. The bell finally rings. Once. Distant. Not the main bell. A call from the boiling room. Something's ready, or someone isn't. You walk back to the beam. Another hide waits. You place it down. You don't feel hunger, or thirst, or time. You feel rope, wood, blade, snow. You scrape. The sky does not change. You breathe. Still working, still bound, still here. The next hide is lighter, thinner, goat or kid, and curls at the edges from partial drying. The center is dark with thawed brine, still damp enough to pull cleanly but stiff where the sinew laces close to the skin. You place it down gently. Your hands no longer steady but practiced. You grip the scraper and start with short, shallow strokes, careful not to tear. Goat hides tear easily. Everything does in winter. The yard is quieter now, not from stillness, but from wear. The scraping has slowed. The boots have grown fewer. Somewhere someone is sharpening a blade with a rhythmic drag across stone, a high, whispering sound that rides over the wind. It doesn't comfort. It just reminds. You adjust your stance. The boards underfoot are slick, softened by snowmelt and fat. A few steps to the left, a man fell yesterday. You didn't see it. You heard the cry, saw the aftermath. His head hit the beam. He hasn't come back. No one speaks of him. You work a little farther from that spot now, but the board beneath it still creaks. The hide peels clean along the grain. You flick away pieces with the side of your blade, bits of sinew and curled hair clinging to your sleeves. The cold has numbed the feeling in your arms, but the tension remains. Your shoulders knot each time you lean forward. You keep leaning anyway. A pot clatters behind the curing shed. You turn your head just enough to hear a muffled curse, then nothing. A gust follows, colder, edged with snow and ash. It bites the bare skin where your glove slips at the wrist. You clench your fist and press it back into the handle. The leather cracks under your grip. You look up once. The sky remains the same, blank and wide and useless. No sun, no moon, no shift in light. Only that colorless gray that blurs the edges of stone and skin. You lower your eyes and keep working. You don't know how long you've been standing, how many hides you've scraped, how many loads you've hauled. The pile at the rack has grown, or maybe it hasn't. Maybe the same number is placed, then removed and placed again. You stop tracking them. You just take the next. This one is stiffer, the surface frozen into hard ridges. You lift it awkwardly, feel your back spasm as you haul it to the beam. You pause, brace your hands on your knees. The cold doesn't leave. You straighten slowly. You tie the hide down, begin again. The wind dies briefly. The yard grows heavy as if listening. Then the breeze returns, carrying a sour note. Boiled hoof or teeth, perhaps. Someone is rendering something not meant for the pot. You breathe through your mouth, but it doesn't help. You finish the hide without tearing it. That feels like a small success, but it doesn't last. You grab the next. It's folded in on itself, knotted at one end where the skin bunched in the kill. You press it open, using your elbow, and the stench rises, sour, thick, buried deep in the folds. You don't gag. You just step closer, set the scraper, and cut the first stroke. The bell rings again, twice, then silence. You ignore it. You scrape. You shift. You breathe through the cloth of your collar. Still cold, still working, still here. The hide curls under your scraper, its edge folding like old paper softened by damp. Each pass takes effort now, not from the weight, but from the stiffness spreading through your arms. Your wrists pulse dully, and the joints at your thumbs throb with each grip. You pause, flex your fingers. They move, barely. Good enough. Snow drifts from the racks above, shaken loose by wind or weight. It falls in clumps, hitting the beam with soft thuds that leave damp rings where they melt. One flake lands on your lip. You don't wipe it away. It stays until it melts and trickles down your chin. The wind circles again, sharper now, and finds the hole near your shoulder seam. You shift your weight to block it, but the chill is already in. It spreads across your back like wet ash. You keep scraping. A man coughs near the vats, a deep, broken sound. It echoes off the stone walls, followed by silence. No one checks. Everyone knows that cough. It has no cure, only time or the ground. The pile of hides behind you has shrunk. That should feel like progress, but it doesn't. For every skin gone, another appears, carried in by mule, by sled, by men with shoulders lower each day. The work never ends. The hides never stop. Only the hands that scrape them. The hide in front of you splits. You curse softly, check the grain. The skin was too dry. You finish what you can, fold it, and toss it toward the waste pile. It lands awkwardly, sliding off the stack. You don't fix it. You turn back to the rack. Another weight. Your legs tremble when you step, not from fatigue, from stillness. They've forgotten how to bend. You force them into motion, one slow stride at a time. The snow resists, thick and uneven, packed with salt and slush. You drag your boot. You walk. Near the wall, a new pile of frames has been laid out, freshly carved, sap still clinging to the joints. Too clean for this place. Too dry. You touch one. The wood creaks. It will warp in a week. You return to the beam. Someone has left a hide half done. You recognize the strokes. Deep, rough, impatient. A younger worker gone now. For food, for warmth, or for good. You pick up where he left off, retracing each line with care. The skin resists less this time. The scraper finds the old grooves and deepens them. Above, the racks sway. The rope creaks. One knot gives way and a hide drops, flapping like cloth. You glance over. No one moves. You'll tie it later, if it's still there. You finish the hide. Your breath comes slow, shallow. You try to stand straight, but the cold has locked your back. You manage halfway. Your shadow leans. A whistle cuts through the yard, sharp, single, not a call, not a warning, just sound. You don't answer. You pick up the hide, walk to the rack, tie it with trembling hands. The sun, if it exists, hides behind the same thick gray. The snow comes again, light but constant. It catches in your lashes, sticks to your hair. You rub your forehead. Your fingers smell of lime and meat. You blink once, then again. The scraper waits on the beam. You walk back. You lift it. You begin again, still scraping, still breathing, still here. The snow no longer melts when it lands on you. It gathers instead, on your shoulders, in the folds of your hood, on the backs of your hands where the gloves have worn through. You don't brush it off. There's no use. The flakes stay until your body heat thins them, and even that takes longer now. You've gone too still. The beam is slick with grease. You wipe it once with the edge of your sleeve, but it does nothing. The fat is set into the grain, a deep black sheen that catches the dim light and reflects nothing. You press the hide flat and begin. The first stroke tears. You knew it would. The second cuts smoother. The third settles into a rhythm. Your feet are numb now, not just the toes, the whole foot. You shift weight to test them. They respond, slowly, like wood soaking in water. You keep moving. It's better than stopping. Stopping lets the cold root deeper. To your left, someone sings again. A different voice this time, younger, wavering. Not a tune you know. Maybe a regional song from a valley further down, where snow comes later and the hides are cleaner. The sound doesn't carry far. The fog eats it. The voice dies out before the verse ends. You pause to rest your wrists. The scraper drops to the beam with a soft tap. You shake out your hands, fingers stiff and red, knuckles split. Blood rises slowly in a thin line where the skin cracked earlier. You wipe it on your coat. There's already a smear there. It vanishes into the stain. A new load arrives at the gate. No bell. Just the creak of wheels and the sharp grunt of the mule. You don't look. You know what it is. More hides, more hours, more weight. The gate closes. The crunch of boots returns. You hear swearing, soft, resigned. A body dragging something heavy. A sack, a skin. You don't look. You scrape. The fog lifts slightly as the wind returns. It cuts sideways across the yard, bending the lines between frames, lifting flakes from the ground and sending them into the air. It makes your eyes water. You blink once. The tear freezes at the corner. The hide you're working begins to fold near the center. You press it down, force the edge flat, and drag the blade with extra weight. It cuts, but not evenly. The blade skips. You follow the curve. You finish the stroke. Another cough rises nearby. Deep, hollow. It's answered by silence. You keep scraping. A figure near the salt vat collapses. You hear the splash first, then a dull thud. No one moves. A man walks past, glances down, then walks on. You don't move either. You look away. The beam beneath you groans. Old wood, old weather. It swells and shrinks each day like breath. You wonder how long until it splits. You run your hand across the edge. A splinter catches your palm. You let it stay. The next hide is heavier. You drag it from the pile, lift it to your chest, carry it to the frame. Your arms shake. You feel it in your shoulders. You tie the first knot. The rope slips. You tie it again. You step back. The snow is deeper now. Your boots vanish when you stand still. You walk again. Another hide, another scrape. Another breath drawn between cracked lips. Still working, still waiting, still here. The fog settles into the grain of the wood. It climbs the walls, slips between beams, settles inside your sleeves like smoke. It dampens everything but the sound. That stays sharp. The scrape of metal on skin, the snap of rope drawn too tight, the slow groan of the racks under frozen weight. Your blade stutters over a seam, jerks, then digs in. You keep pulling. The hide beneath your hands is from a larger animal. Ox, maybe. The flesh is thicker, the tension harder to read. You press your forearm against it to brace, then push harder with the scraper. The movement pulls at your spine. Your knees shift to hold your balance. You don't speak. No one does. The pile behind you has grown. At some point between the last bell and now, another sledge arrived. You didn't see it. You didn't hear it. You just turned, and the hides were there, stacked, half covered in frost, steaming at the corners. You count them briefly, not out loud. 8, maybe 9. You return to work. The man beside you mutters something, not to you, not even words, just sound, a rhythm. He sharpens his scraper with a stone held in his palm, moving it in a slow circle. His gloves are missing. His knuckles are raw. He keeps sharpening. A gust sweeps through the yard, stronger this time. It knocks snow from the upper ledge. A slab lands nearby with a wet thud. You don't flinch. The cold presses tighter. You shift your feet. The numbness has crept up past your ankles now, into the soft part behind your knees. You keep standing. The hide splits unexpectedly. The tear runs fast like cloth. You stare at it for a second, blade frozen midair. Then you set it aside. Not worth fixing. You move to the next. The rope around it is frozen into the fold. You pull. It cracks. You tie it to the beam. You begin again. A voice calls something near the shed. A short word, sharp and clipped. A name or a number. It's followed by nothing. The voice doesn't call again. You drag your blade across the flesh. The sound is different now, higher. The edge is dulling again. You make a note in your head. Stone, tonight. You probably won't remember. Another bell rings. Not from the main tower, the handbell near the supply gate. That means someone brought more salt, or someone needs help. No one leaves their post. You keep scraping. The snow is packed around your boots so tightly that when you shift, it holds your ankles. You twist slightly to free your left foot. The sound quiet but firm. You move 2 inches. That's enough. A cart groans behind you. Someone unloading. The mules snort once. You don't turn around. The scraper catches again. You adjust the angle. You lean forward. The man with the sharpening stone is gone now. So is his scraper. You wonder if he took it with him. You wonder where he went. You pull another hide from the pile. Lighter, cleaner. Almost too clean. You wonder who skinned it. The cuts are straight. You stretch it out, pin it to the beam. You begin again. The mist rises again, up past your waist now, turning figures into shadows. You scrape in silence. The rope on your wrist grows tighter. The blade grows duller. The work does not stop. Still scraping, still silent, still here. By the time you reach the third hide since the last bell, your breath has gone shallow, fixed to the rhythm of your hands. Draw in, pull blade. Let out, reset grip. You no longer think in words, only in movements. The cold has hollowed your thoughts, filled the gaps with ice and steam. Even the pain in your knuckles has changed. Not sharp, just distant. Like sound through a wall, the hide is damp at the edges. Not fresh damp, old, sour. The kind that comes from being dragged through slush and laid too long in a stack. You touch the corner and it squelches. You scrape anyway. The blade fights you at first, sliding along a seam that won't open. You press harder. The scraper chatters over the surface, metal on frozen grain. A group of figures work near the far end of the yard, where the frames lean crookedly against the tannery wall. They move slower than usual. One lifts a skin, another ties a rope, a third stands still, watching. You look away before the stillness spreads. Your shoulders ache again, the left worse than the right, a deep pulling throb from an old brake that never set properly. It flares in the cold, tightens when you carry weight. You pause, roll your shoulder back, feel the joint grind once, then release. Then you return to the beam. Another cough splits the air, not close, not new. One of the boys has been coughing for days. They moved him behind the salt trough yesterday, wrapped him in cloth. You haven't seen him stand since. No one speaks about it. There's nothing to say. The wind drops for a moment, long enough for sound to rise. You hear the scrape of a boot against stone, the crack of a rope snapping under strain, the faint hiss of a boiling vat. The yard is still alive, though no one here feels it. You tie off the hide when the flesh is gone, your fingers fumbling with the knot. The rope slips. You retie it, slower this time. A clean loop. You nod, just once, to yourself, then lift the hide and carry it to the drying rack. The frame creaks as you tie it, wood bowing slightly. The knot pulls tighter than it should. You let it. Back at the beam, another skin waits. This one has been scored already, a rough X near the neck. Someone started and left it. You finish what they couldn't. The cut doesn't line up. You shift your grip. You carve along the edge, careful not to split the thin parts. Mist rolls over your boots again. The hem of your coat is soaked. It slaps cold against your calves as you move. You stopped noticing hours ago. You stopped drying out days ago. A shadow crosses your beam. Someone walking past, head low, carrying nothing. You don't look up. There's nothing to see, just motion, just figures. Your scraper slips. You adjust. The wind returns. You shiver once, then stop. The next scrape cuts deeper. You lean into the rhythm. The snow thickens. You breathe, still working, still silent, still here. You barely register when your hands stop working the scraper and begin simply following it. The blade moves on its own, tugging muscle from memory. You've slipped beneath the rhythm, lost inside it. Each pass of steel over hide is the same, yet different. The weight of the flesh shifts. The stiffness of the grain changes with every patch of thaw or rot. Your hands adjust without thought. They do not wait for instruction. They only move. The wind shifts again. It finds your spine this time, threads through the gap between coat and shirt. You clench your teeth but make no sound. The cold roots itself just above your waist. It stays there, a second spine forming beneath the first. You pause only long enough to press your fists into your hips. They don't respond. You straighten, slowly, deliberately. Feel the crackle of dried sweat and salt in the cloth against your back. The hide before you is still only half done. You return to it, slowly, carefully. No wasted motion. From somewhere deeper in the yard, a voice calls out. Not a shout, just a sound. A breath too loud to be natural. You hear a name, or something shaped like one. A man walks past behind you, dragging a broken frame. He doesn't look at you. He doesn't speak. You don't stop him. The snow parts under his boots and closes behind them. Your scraper snags on a knot in the hide. A hard piece of cartilage, missed by the blade that skinned it. You work around it slowly, shaving from the outside in until the surface gives. It releases with a pop, and your hand jerks forward. You don't stumble. You haven't in days. You lean forward again. The handle of the scraper cuts into your palm where the hide has worn thin. You shift your grip. The pain is steady, familiar, no longer a warning, just presence. You wipe your brow with your sleeve. The fabric is crusted with lime dust and salt. You smear more than you clean. Your eyes sting. You blink the sting away. The boy from yesterday, the one with the split sleeves, appears again near the boiling house. He holds something this time. A strip of hide too narrow to be useful, maybe pulled from the discard. He carries it with both hands, slowly, carefully, like it matters. You watch him for one heartbeat, then turn away. The snow has stopped falling. The air holds its breath. You feel it in the stillness between creaks, in the hush of boots, in the way no one coughs just now. Your scraper finishes the final pass. The hide is clean. You lift it with numb hands, sling it across your shoulders. The edge slaps your back. You walk it to the rack, tie it with stiff fingers. Each knot is slower than the last. You turn. The beam is empty. You return. Another hide is placed. You lay it flat. You test its grain. The bell does not ring. The wind does not move. The cold does not leave. You begin again, still scraping, still waking, still here. The beam is beginning to splinter. You notice it mid-stroke when the scraper stutters across the surface and catches the edge of an old cut in the wood. It jerks upward, slicing a shallow groove into the hide. You stare at the mark for a moment, then smooth your hand across it. The tear is thin. It won't show once the leather's cured. You scrape over it again, slower this time. The blade obeys. Your breath comes in slow plumes now, each exhale rising in a thin trail before dissolving into the mist. The air is colder than before. Not sharp, but numbing, the kind that settles deeper than the skin. You pull your collar higher, though it does little. The fabric is already soaked, stiff with salt and steam. From behind the shed, the rendering fire coughs a column of smoke into the air. The scent reaches you slowly, a blend of scorched bone and boiled sinew. It makes your tongue curl. You swallow against it. Nothing rises. A low whistle breaks the silence. Short, one tone. You glance toward the sound but see no one. The fog distorts everything. Shadows pass as shapes, not people. You listen for more. There's nothing. Just the scrape of tools, the groan of rope, the thud of hides landing heavy on the racks. You adjust your stance. Your left foot has gone numb again, heel sunk too long into snow packed with ash. You stamp it once, feel the cold shift upward to your knee. You ignore it. You brace the hide with your hip and continue. The skin resists. Old flesh clings like dry clay, layered thick near the flanks. You chip it off, stroke by stroke. The effort burns down your forearms. Your elbows lock. You pull with your whole weight. The beam creaks again beneath the pressure. You pause, rest your blade, roll your wrists. A man slips near the salt vat. His knee hits stone. The sound rings sharp, then dulls. He doesn't cry out. He pushes himself upright, leans against the trough for a breath, then limps away. You watch him go. You return to the hide. Someone drops a pail. The metal clangs once, then rolls. It bumps your boot, rests there. You don't move. The boy it belongs to appears a moment later, breathless. He picks it up without a word, walks away. You scrape. The sound is rhythmic now, clean, familiar. The blade knows the surface. Your fingers know the shape. The hide relaxes under your hand. You stretch it. You tie it. You carry it to the rack. The wood there is wet with fresh snowmelt. The cords slick with use. You tie a square knot by feel. It holds. You step back. One more. You return. The new hide is small, lamb or calf, thin as paper. It folds when you touch it. You lay it flat. You draw the blade gently. A crow lands on the top beam. It watches you, blinks once. Its feathers are rimmed with frost. You don't look at it again. Your arms shake now, just slightly. From cold, from fatigue, from nothing new. You finish the pass. You turn the hide. You scrape again. The fog lifts slightly. The sky does not brighten. Your knees lock. You shift. The scraper moves, still scraping, still waiting, still here. The snow resumes just as you finish tying the calf hide to the lowest rack. The flakes come heavier than before, clumping fast along the lashings, settling into the hollows between stretched skins. You wipe your brow with the back of your glove and watch them vanish into steam rising from the warmest patches of flesh. The air smells of iron, wet, metallic, quiet. You take one step back and nearly lose your footing. The ground is uneven here, warped by years of slush pressed into stone and timber. You steady yourself against the rack, feel the weight of the tied hides shift slightly under your hand. The structure creaks. You let go. The walk back to your beam is slower now. Your left knee drags, tugged downward by something inside the joint that feels swollen, thick, misaligned. You limp, but you keep moving. The fog thickens again around your ankles. You hear nothing but your own steps and the faint echo of scraping somewhere far off. The next hide waits for you on the pile. It's large, heavy, rolled with care, though the edges have begun to freeze. You grip it at the fold, brace your foot, and pull. The whole skin unfurls with a wet slap against the frozen plank. Steam rises faintly from beneath. You breathe through your mouth. The smell is worse than before. Something old, buried under ice, now waking. You begin slowly. The scraper doesn't glide this time. It sticks, jerks forward in half passes. The flesh is stubborn. You adjust your angle, dig deeper. Your arm cramps. You stop, flex your fingers. The glove has split along the seam. Your pinky is bare now, pale, slightly blue. You don't cover it. You don't have a spare. A gust of wind throws snow across the yard. It rushes in sheets, cutting low against the beams and lifting edges of cloth left tied to racks. One scrap flies loose and flutters toward the shed. You watch it drift until it disappears into the shadows. Someone speaks, not near, not clear, just a word carried sideways on the wind. You don't catch it. You don't try. You lower your eyes and keep scraping. The hide yields in patches. It wasn't soaked properly. You find dried veins near the spine and work your blade around them. The edges tear. You slow your hand. You stroke instead of pull. It helps. Your breath feels thin now. Not short, just tired. Each inhale pulls a little harder. Each exhale leaves slower. You chew the inside of your cheek. You taste lime and blood. A man walks by, dragging a frame. He nods at you. You nod back. That's all. You forget his face before he passes. The hide is mostly clean now. You fold it in thirds, hoist it over your shoulder, and carry it to the next open rack. Your knee wobbles again on the turn. You nearly fall. The rack steadies you. You tie the first corner, then the second. The third knot slips. Your fingers fumble. You retie it. It holds. You walk back. The pile has shrunk. The snow has thickened. You wipe your scraper on your leg. You reach for the next hide. Still working, still breathing, still here. The sky darkens, though the color doesn't change. It simply presses lower, a weight in the air that makes your ears throb. The snow falls thicker now, each flake heavy with moisture, landing with soft thuds instead of the brittle whisper from earlier. It settles fast, on the beams, the hides, the backs of your hands. You keep moving, not from urgency, but because you must. If you stop, the cold will settle into your joints and claim them one by one. The hide at your feet is too wide for your beam. It overhangs at both ends, limp and half frozen. You bend, grab the edge, and haul it up. The flesh side is streaked with yellow rot near the spine, where the thaw has come and gone too many times. You work around it. Your blade sticks at first. Then the rhythm returns. Behind you, someone sharpens a blade on a stone block. The sound is high, a slow screech that rises above the wind. It cuts through the silence like a bell, but no one answers. You feel the vibration of it in your ribs. You do not turn. The snow reaches your shins. You've been standing too long in one place. Your legs resist when you shift your stance. The numbness is complete now. No pain, no warmth. Just a tightness in the knees and a cold pressure in the feet that makes them feel buried. You scrape faster, trying to generate heat. The hide responds better than expected. The layer of rot lifts easily, flaking in thick, wet curls. You flick them away with practiced motion, each one landing with a soft thump. One lands on your boot and stays there. You don't shake it off. Another man drops a skin near the drying racks. It lands hard, folded and half-tied. He curses softly. The sound is flat. His breath curls in the air, then vanishes. He doesn't try again. He walks back for another. You watch him leave, then look down, then scrape. Your shoulders ache again, but the ache is dull, part of you now. You feel it only when you move a certain way. Stretch too far, reach too low. You avoid those angles. You keep within your limits. Your hands work slower, but steadier. You've learned where the blade catches. You've learned where it gives. The bell rings, once, then again. No pattern, no reason. Maybe a mistake, maybe a warning. No one stops. You don't either. The wind howls now. It curves around the walls, lifts corners of old cloth, spins flakes across the yard in slow, wide arcs. One rack trembles, another groans. A hide tears loose and drifts down like a blanket falling from a line. It lands soft. No one moves to fix it. You finish the hide. You don't lift it. Not yet. You rest one hand on the beam, press your weight into it. You breathe once, twice. The air tastes of ash and skin. You push away from the beam and lift the hide. It clings to your shoulder, wet against your neck. You walk it to the rack. Each step is a question now. Will the foot hold? Will the joint give? Will the wind take the breath from your chest before you reach the frame? You walk anyway, slowly, head down, arms stiff. You tie the hide. You don't check the knots. You return. The next skin waits. The scraper waits. Still snowing. Still silent. Still here. The last hide of the day feels like a test. It's smaller than the others, but dense, curled in on itself like a muscle clenched tight. You pull it from the pile and it resists you. The edge slips from your grasp twice before you manage to unfurl it onto the beam. The flesh side is pale and smooth, but cold, stiffer than anything you've handled since morning. You lay your scraper along the top, take a breath, and begin. Each stroke feels heavier than the last, as if the hide is pulling your weight instead of the other way around. Your hands burn with cold, your fingertips buzzing where blood barely flows. You press harder. The blade carves steadily, peeling away layers with clean sound. You watch each strip fall with something like focus, not purpose, not pride, just motion. The snow has risen past your boots. You feel it now around your calves, where the wool has soaked through and begun to freeze again. Every step you took earlier is covered, erased. The yard looks untouched, though the ghosts of frames and footpaths linger faintly in the mist. The racks creak under the growing wind. One lashes against its mooring, a cord snaps, a skin folds and drops. You don't turn. You hear a thump, the dull slide of flesh across snow. You keep working. If it matters, someone else will fix it. If not, it will wait for thaw. Your arms tire. The scraper dips at the edge. You correct your grip. The blade has dulled, but it's enough. You finish the length of the hide and start again on the other side. Behind you, someone moves. Slow steps, crunching through snow. You glimpse them in the corner of your eye. Heavy coat, hood up, dragging something wrapped in oilcloth. It might be food. It might be a body. They vanish behind the drying shed. You don't look again. You scrape. The wind howls now, low and constant. Not a gust, not a voice, just pressure. It leans into you. It carries ice and ash and the breath of old hides. You pull your collar tighter. The string snaps. You let it hang. The final stretch of hide pulls clean. You fold it once, then again. The edges line up. You carry it to the frame, your body lurching slightly to one side. Your back won't straighten. You tie the corners, each knot slower than the last. Your fingers barely move. You use your teeth on the last pull. It holds. You stand back. The rack groans. The skin flaps once in the wind, then stills. You walk to the beam. You place your scraper down gently. The wood beneath it is dark, wet, roughened by hours of labor. You press your palm against it. It is warm, or your hand is colder than you thought. Around you the yard breathes, not with sound, with presence. Hides tied, frames full, scrapers silent, men moving like shadows one by one. The fog thickens. The wind swallows the bell. You stand. You breathe. You leave the scraper. You walk. Still cold, still silent, still here.